Hello! Welcome. I've already forgotten my intro. How do I do? Hello? There we go. Hello, and welcome to episode 5, all about chapters 5 and 6 of the Fellowship of the Ring, being the 5th part of That's What I'm Tolkien About. Hello, I am Mary Clay. If that's too complicated for you, just call me MC. I'm over it at this point. And today I am joined by my friend Bethany. Welcome, Bethany.
Hello.
If our audio sounds a bit weird, it's because we are... So this is my first guest that I've had in person with me. So we don't have to Skype, so we're just sitting next to each other, getting very cozy around my microphone. And then I also reserved us a room at the public library, and I did an oopsie and recorded a room that has a sign that says, "Please be aware that the study rooms are not soundproof and voices easily carry outside the room." So,
it's free entertainment for the people at the library.
That's true. Well, at the same time, when I booked this room, it said, occupancy 6 people. So theoretically, and we are in the teen corner. By the way, I should add, we are in teen study room
zone.
A. So I should add that theoretically, this room should be able to handle 6 teenagers, which there's no way 6 teenagers are going to be quiet.
Oh.
So, and if this sounds too quiet, this will just be the ASMR episode. I don't think my voice is built for ASMR, but anyway. So yes, welcome. Bethany, why don't you tell me and the folks listening at home, how did you get into Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings, the movies, came out when I was, I think, in kindergarten. I was obviously not old enough to watch them when they first came out, but my whole family was obsessed, and they would, put the movies on, but send me up to bed, and I'd have to lay there and listen to the most epic movie ever, right below my bed. So I watched the movies first, and loved them, and then read the books in middle school, I think, because I'm kind of a dork, and I love the books too, but for different reasons.
Did you read The Hobbit first, or did you read Lord of the Rings?
I read Lord of the Rings first, and then I never really liked The Hobbit. I think I'd read The Hobbit for school. I know.
No, because you're pretty much every person I've talked to now has been like, oh yeah, I read The Hobbit first, like a normal person is supposed to do. Because I thought, because the Hobbit movies came out after the Lord of the Rings movies, I thought it was like a reverse Star Wars thing where he did Lord of the Rings and then wrote The Hobbit later. So I didn't know until starting this podcast that technically you're supposed to read The Hobbit first.
I mean, you can. I already knew Bilbo and the dwarves and everything, but Lord of the Rings is a lot more adventurous and grand, and I think after reading that I was a little bored with The Hobbit.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I did this wrong, because when
you're gonna get everybody hype, and then they're not gonna want to do The Hobbit.
I know, right?
This is lame.
Oops. Oh well. You know what? We're learning. We're learning as we go.
I mean, somebody will probably tweet at me that I'm horrible for not liking The Hobbit.
Nah, don't worry about it. Oh, it was my first hater comment was I posted something about it was a meme of, was anyone gonna tell me that there was a Lord of the Rings series on Prime in the works, or was I just gonna have to find that out myself? And someone commented on it and was like, yeah, this has been a thing for a while. And I was like, well,
okay.
I've only known about Lord of the Rings for a month.
Right,
so.
Right. It's that one person on Twitter.
Yeah, don't worry. I think it was Instagram too, which makes me sad, because I always picture Instagram to be the safe, coveted place. Yeah, it's a happy place. Speaking of Instagram, look at how good I am at segues. This question comes from my friend Olivia. Hi, Olivia. Shout out. Would Gandalf and Dumbledore be pals? If so, what would they talk about?
Oh, gosh.
I think
they'd be pals.
I think they would be great pals, because they'd be exactly alike.
Sassy friends.
Oh my gosh. I feel like Dumbledore would be a lot more whimsical, and Gandalf would be like, okay, bye, and peace out without letting Dumbledore know, because that's the only context I have for Gandalf at this point, is that he drops a bomb and then leaves.
I feel like Gandalf would get along really well with Fred and George too, because they have fireworks in common.
It's great that you say that, because when I was in the first chapter, with Gandalf's fireworks for Bilbo's birthday party, I 100% was just picturing, like, the fireworks that they do in the 5th movie, which is deplorable, by the way. Let's all just agree on that the 5th Harry Potter movie is, we can skip it. Except for the end, when they do the firework. Yeah, and they even have a firework of a dragon.
Right.
But I was, like, picturing Gandalf's fireworks to be like that, but on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like Fred and George would, like, seek Gandalf out. And they would, like, use an extendable ear to, like, eavesdrop on his and Dumbledore's conversation or something.
Try to pick up some magic tips from him.
Yeah. Or, I don't know, maybe Gandalf and Dumbledore would be like, I have this young boy who I've given a horrible task. They should meet up and chat about that for a bit or something.
Oh, so then do you think Harry and Frodo would get along?
I think so, but I think Harry would be annoyed with Frodo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, thank you for that question, Olivia. If you want to send me a question like that or about the chapter that we'll be discussing that week, you can send a DM to @TolkienAboutPod on Instagram or Twitter. So now moving into chapter 5. Oh, if I didn't say it already, we are covering chapter 5 and 6 today because 5 is kind of short, and even though 6 is a little bit longer, not that much happens in 6 either. So we'll just jump right into chapter 5, A Conspiracy Unmasked, which sounds a lot more ominous than it is. It really
does, yeah.
I 100% thought that, like, we'd be finding out, like, oh, the writers are, like, we've uncovered what the writers are, and Gandalf would show up and be like, I don't know, and reveal something huge, and we'd learn more about what was going on. Nope, we just find out that Frodo's friends have been spying on him for several months without Frodo knowing, and that they just know everything.
Yep.
And honestly, we could move on to chapter 6.
That's about
right
it.
There,
that's the whole
right
chapter,
then and
essentially.
Nothing happens. So anyway, but yeah, starting right off, they have just met up with Mary after being separated, and Bethany. I had a theory at the end of last chapter.
Yes.
That the Mary that met them on the path is actually a Black Rider in disguise.
Oh, bum bum bum.
I'm like 99% sure that's not actually it, but the way it was like this one word that said he suddenly diminished down to hobbit size, and I was like,
Wasn't that? I mean, that was kind of the way that they wrote it.
Yeah, so he's
like shrouded, right, and they're already freaked out.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, he wrote it to be very, like, ominous and spooky, and you're like, ooh, a Black Rider's coming, and then it was like, oh, it's just Mary, and then and I was like, or is it? So
Black Riders can turn into hobbits.
Yeah, I was like, I have this wild theory that he's actually a Black Rider, that the Mary we are with currently is actually a Black Rider in disguise, and he's trying to, like, gain the trust. But I think if it was a Black Rider in disguise, he would have done something by the time they got into the house. So there goes that theory.
I'm gonna cut that theory short.
Yeah.
It's a good thought, but
so they arrive in, I don't know where, honestly. Buckland?
Buckland, yeah.
Is that where they are?
It is.
I ranted a lot about maps last time because the map in my book is not great, and I have no idea where they are.
We're still in the Shire.
Are we?
We are still in the Shire,
Are we? Because they cross the river, and Sam stops and looks back behind him, and it says something like, as if to take farewell of the Shire. Oh. So are they leaving the Shire? Should I give you a page like I'm in? I think it's page.
Let me see if I have a map.
99. I
thought Buckland was in the Shire, but I could be wrong.
Wait, your map looks way better than
maps.
mine.
I've got I don't know what translation or year this is. It's got cool maps.
I need that.
There's too many of them. I don't know which one to look at.
So I literally only have one. Wait, maybe another map. Well, this is great for an auditory experience. Us flipping through pages, looking for maps.
You can't see it.
But we can. Anyway, so chapter 5 starts off with a not-so-subtle history lesson from Tolkien. And we learn about kind of the first Bucklanders, as it were, and where they came from and stuff. And is it important that I need to know all of this lineage stuff? Because I get that Tolkien was really into it, but every time he kind of breaks off on an aside and goes into the family history and paints the family tree and talks about their origins, I'm like, But do I need to know this, Tolkien? Could we perhaps be describing what Frodo looks like?
That's all up to the imagination.
Could we perhaps be explaining a little bit better where we are, because there's 20 billion different names that they're using. It's like Buckland, Rivendell, the Brandywine, and I'm like, I don't know where we are. I don't know what this means.
Tagging along.
The old hall, the wood hall. I don't know.
So you need to know the history of Gorhindad Old Buck.
Yes,
apparently.
I'm so glad you said that first, because I don't know. I would like to note that Tolkien points out that the Bucklanders are the more peculiar of the hobbits, and it says that the other hobbits consider the Bucklanders half foreigners, as it were, and we find out that it's because they were fond of boats, and some of them could swim.
Oh yes,
and
very rare for the hobbits.
I know, and I love that that's what makes them weirdos, is they're like, oh, no, we don't
do water.
No, we don't talk to crazy Uncle Phil, he has a boat.
That's too much.
Yeah, that's too much. Like, they touch the water. Did you know that? They go in for recreation.
For fun.
And fun. What is this nonsense?
Maniacs.
Oh my gosh.
But I believe this is where Mary's people are from.
Oh, is it?
I think so. So he's a little...
It does point out that like Mary and Pippin and Frodo know this part of the land a little bit, because this is where Frodo was before he went to go live with Bilbo. I don't think I made the connection though that the reason Mary knows this area is because he. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay, so I guess
that's kind of a nice little.
All right, Tolkien. All right, I see what you're doing. I guess I get it.
Painting a picture for you.
Yeah, whatever. So they have crossed the ferry, and yes, so notes that Sam looks back, but then he says, "Oh, do you see something?" And this is real creepy. Says, "It looked like a dark black bundle left behind, but as they looked, it seemed to move and sway this way and that as if searching the ground. Then it crawled or went crouching back into the gloom beyond the lamps." Very creepy. And I'm just imagining the like Voldemort-y cloak from the Sorcerer's Stone movie that they come across in the Forbidden Forest, and he's like eating the unicorn blood.
Oh yeah.
And it's just this like wispy, cloaky figure that is hovering over the ground, and then it kind of just like sway. I'm doing all of these hand motions, listeners, that do nothing to help you. Yeah, waving around, and exactly what Tolkien says, that it seemed to sway this way and that. Yep. And then it crawled or went crouching. And that's very creepy.
It's
and
so gross, too. Like, just think of like a bug or something like that.
Yeah, it's very, very like they're glad to be on the other side of the river, I'm sure by now. And then immediately followed by, "What in the Shire is that?" exclaimed Mary. So this is my question. Is "what in the Shire" their swear word?
I am not an expert on Hobbit swears.
Because
I cannot.
So in the I'm like sitting back.
Prepared.
I'm like, let me get out my sources and my APA citations.
Right.
So in the last chapter, Old Man Maggot, he was talking to the Black Rider and said, "Now what in the Shire could that a fellow wanted?" And when I was listening to the audiobook, at first I was like, oh, he said like, "What in the Shire?" Like, now what in the hell does that does he want? And then I was like, oh, no, he meant like what could be located in the Shire. Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't a swear word, but that would be funny if it was. And then it happens again, and and Mary says, "What in the Shire is that?" So do you recall if this like phrase pops up a lot more in the future?
I don't recall if it does or not. I mean, I guess it would make sense. I don't know. Okay. I guess like they could say "what in the world," maybe the Shire. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, you say that. What in the world is that? And their world is the Shire.
Is the Shire, I guess.
That makes so much sense.
I'm a little intrigued now by Hobbit swears.
I love that. Yeah. But that's the thing is,
water.
I don't think they would have. See, that's why I was like, there's no way this is their version of a swear, because I don't imagine the hobbits to be the kind of people to have swear words.
Oh, that's true. They're very, like, sweet.
Like, maybe the Saxville Bagginses would have some kind of swear words, but it would be like like their version of swearing would be like in 4th grade when you would go like H-E double hop hockey sticks,
right.
and everyone would go
nugget.
like, oh. Wait, did you say chicken nugget?
I had a kid tell me that one time I was babysitting. She's like, Miss Bethany, he said a potty word. I go, what? He called me a chicken nugget. It's like, out of my face.
It's like, how dare you insult chicken nuggets
right?
like
It's
that?
Like, I love chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets are by no means a potty word. Oh yeah, so Mary, that's right. Mary is very alarmed because he hasn't experienced the Black Riders. And he doesn't,
that's right.
Because he wasn't with them when they were following him, so he has no idea because they literally just met up and they haven't even gotten a chance to explain. So I love how there's this very creepy, ominous figure in the background, and Mary's like, what is that? And Frodo just goes like, oh, don't worry about that. Let's just leave.
Right.
Like,
Let's go inside right now.
Yeah. He's like, just don't worry your pretty little head.
Right.
We'll
talk about it over
that.
coffee.
Yeah, we'll talk about that soon enough. Come along now.
Right.
So they go inside. I do love that Mary asks, have you had supper? And they said, yes, we have, but we'll have another.
Another.
Yeah.
We can do room for more food.
Exactly, yes.
And then what is it with the mushrooms? And he's like, oh, you don't want any more of these, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Oh yeah, and sorry, listeners, my pen cap just went flying across.
Throwing things at me.
Gosh, you can't see it, but I'm waving my hand around with this obnoxious finger brace on because I smashed my finger.
Again.
And again, I did this like a year and a half ago, and it's mostly annoying because it really hurts and it's numb and it's definitely very sore, but there's like not a single scratch on it. Like,
it's the worst.
The way I slammed my fingers, like, it hurt so bad. I was like, oh my gosh, my fingernails have been ripped off. Like, this is awful. And then I looked down and, like, there wasn't even, like, there wasn't blood. And I was like, okay, well, it'll for sure, like, bruise up in an hour. So,
you're like, I'm going to go through all this pain. I got to get something out of it.
Yeah, and it's especially annoying because it's my pointing finger. It's the tip of my pointer finger on my right hand, and I'm right-handed. Do you know how hard it is to type? When so I'm just like flopping gosh, I can't use my hand. It's
to jam my fingers all the time. You have to like tape them together.
Yeah, that's what
I have 4 fingers.
That's what I did yesterday, and I was trying to like gesture to something at the restaurant we were at last night, and I don't know, I forgot that my fingers were taped together, and the waitress just kind of like laughed at me, and I was like, okay,
aww.
Sorry. What were we talking about? Mushrooms.
We're talking about mushrooms. Hobbits are very protective of their mushrooms.
Yes, they are, or at least Frodo is. Yeah, he's like, I love how they're like, oh, these are for all of us, and he's like, they are mine. Right? He's like, old farmer Maggot's wife gave them to me. And then it's like,
isn't Frodo like the oldest?
Share.
It's supposed to be like the most mature of the hobbits.
Yeah, well, that's what's
the elder of the
group.
Well,
that's what's funny is in the previous chapter we find out that Frodo was afraid of Farmer Maggot because he got caught several times as a youth. Stealing mushrooms from his farm.
He has a long love of mushrooms.
Yeah. Which, are these just normal mushrooms, Frodo? Is there something else going on?
We're getting all the adult content in this episode. The Hobbit swears and the...
Yes, so they go into Frodo's house and they all take a bath and
sing songs.
Yes, I wrote, is Pippin he is an actual child because you can hear him in the other room singing and like
young.
He's splashing all over the place and they make a note that like the floor has been flooded.
Pippin's the best. He's like, I'm so excited to see what you think of these characters as you get to know them more, but I just love Pippin so much.
Yeah, I know that Pippin is a fan favorite because someone on Instagram sent me a message saying, when I asked for questions, someone sent me a message saying, who's the best Hobbit, Pippin or Pippin?
It's not wrong.
So, yeah, I'm interested to see what else they do that maybe will make me... It's not that I don't like them, it's just that...
You're just meeting them.
Yeah, I'm just meeting them, and I'm just like, they're just kind of like, I don't know, the fun guys that are there to sing songs, apparently. Which, second note, do the Hobbits have a song for every single occasion?
Yup.
Like, they sing all the time. So this is a very random reference, everyone, so just hold your horses, I'm getting there. So, what I, all of a sudden thought of is, there's this SNL sketch where Zac Efron was hosting, or on as a guest. And the sketch is them graduating from the high school in High School Musical.
Oh my gosh, I remember that.
And he's giving the valedictorian speech, and is like, guys, I have to prepare you. they don't sing outside of high school. This is the
Right.
only, like, in college, they don't sing, and everyone is, like, shocked, and they're horrified, and he's like, and what's worse is, as far as I can tell, we are the only high school in America that sings.
Yes.
Well, he's like, do you want to know what happened when I went on a college visit and I started singing? People just stared at me.
I stood there singing about my feelings.
Yeah, and that's what I'm just imagining is going to happen when they get outside the Shires. They're going to start singing, and like the elves
are going to be like, what are you doing?
We don't know these people.
Right.
And they're going to be like, can you walk like 20 feet behind us?
Spoiler alert, the elves are real into songs too.
Oh,
There's a lot of singing in these
Oh my God.
books.
Oh, and then third question.
Yeah.
Why is there any, like, so for Harry Potter, there's wizard rock bands, or at least they were like really popular back in the day when the books were like at their peak and stuff. So are there any, and maybe if there aren't already any, I don't know, hobbit rock bands, like there should be, because the content is already here.
Hobbits seem more like folk rock.
Okay, well then maybe
Country,
it's like a bluegrass
Hobbit
band. You know, who knows? I don't know. I'm just saying that, like, of all the like things to start a band for, like for like all the books or series or worlds to write songs for or start a band over. I feel like Lord of the Rings lends itself pretty well, because a lot of the songs are already written for you.
Yeah.
Then again, one of them is about like taking a bath, so I don't know.
They're just really into songs.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to do a
top hits.
Do the floss. That's what the kids do these days. Can you floss to
Pippin's bath song?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Send us your videos, listener.
Yeah. Yeah, if you send me a video of you flossing to the bath song, I will do nothing. I will like it and retweet it. That's probably it.
That's fair. That's probably more than
yes. Yeah. So they have dinner, and then what's his name? Fatty McGee. Fatty Bulger.
That's okay. So that's something I remember distinctly from reading this as a child. I was like 12 and thought things like that were hilarious.
Oh,
there are multiple characters in this book named Fatty.
You're kidding.
It's like, what are you doing? This is like high literature right here.
I guess
and you're naming people Fatty.
I guess it just had like a different. He didn't think it was that weird then.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about words that he uses the word queer all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I read it, I'm like,
it's not the same.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's okay, he didn't mean it. Which, honestly, I don't want to go digging too much into to find out what Tolkien's stance was on stuff, because I feel like that'll just ruin things.
He was alive in the 40s, don't worry about
honestly, that's why, that's where J.K. Rowling went wrong, is she has Twitter and Tolkien doesn't. And
oh my gosh, if Tolkien had Twitter, all his tweets would be in like his own languages, I feel like.
Yeah.
Oh my
gosh. Man. He and C.S. Lewis would be like, I feel like it would just be like one long continuous Twitter thread of them just like replying. Them back and forth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they eat dinner, and Mary and Fatty Bulger are like, so, what happened? Mm-hmm. Y'all look pretty freaked out when we met you. And Frodo's not really saying anything, and Pippin's like, well, I'll say it, and goes into the story, and Sam chimes in every now and then I like the note that Frodo just sits there silently.
So moody.
Yeah, he's
staring into the fire.
Yeah, well, I'm not even imagining him being moody. I'm just imagining him being like, if I say nothing, maybe they'll forget about all this weird stuff that's happened.
Like trying to hold the secret in.
Yeah, maybe he's like, if I don't say anything, they'll forget about it, and then we can just like have more mushrooms.
Right.
And then we don't have to talk about the ring or the riders.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, what a weird coincidence. Yeah. So then Pippin, roasts him. Not roast, what did I say? Oh, I wrote down, get him, Pippin.
Get him.
Because Pippin says, but the time has come for him to open out. So far, we have been giving nothing more to go on than Farmer Maggot's guess that it has something to do with old Bilbo's treasure, which is accurate.
And that's what opens Frodo up. Like, whoa.
Oh yeah, and he's like, Maggot does not know anything, which he does.
Yeah.
So let's calm down there, Frodo.
Which also, how does he know anything about Bilbo's ring?
Maggot?
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming he doesn't say, oh, I think it's that ring he always wore. He comments on, I suspect all this trouble you're in is because of Bilbo's treasure. Because I'm assuming that everyone in the Shire, when he came back from The Hobbit, knows that Bilbo's loaded now. He has, like, I'm just imagining, if anyone's ever been on, like, the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disney World, at the very end of it, it's like Jack Sparrow sitting in on a throne in just, like, a huge treasure room. Yeah. And, like, that's what I'm imagining Bilbo's treasure to be the size of. And so, for a quiet little hobbit to leave the Shire and then come back, which, by the way, I love that they thought, like, he was gonna die. And so they, like, or at least the Saxville back. I think that's what I picked up on, is that they thought he wasn't gonna come back. So they're like, we'll just have Bag End. Thank you very much. And they were real salty when he came back. But yeah, so I imagine that everyone in the Shire knows about his treasure. And then I guess, I don't know how they would assume that. Maybe like, because, you know, Bilbo left several years earlier than this, they think like, oh, he's run into trouble and that's why he ran away or something. I don't know. But, I mean, I guess it's just kind of like Bilbo went out and now has this huge thing that he wasn't really supposed to have, or like isn't natural for hobbits to have.
Yeah,
and so I guess that's not a stretch for Maggot to be like, I think it has something to do with that treasure of his, which he is not wrong. And we find out that Mary is also not wrong, because Mary knows everything. Oh, I was reading my notes and I put, come to find out Frodo is awful. I was like, what did I write? He's awful. And then on the next line, at pretending like everything is normal.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yes, Frodo's awful at pretending like everything is normal and fine and dandy, because this is the conspiracy that is unmasked, is that they've known all along.
Like, way more than they should either.
Yeah.
Like,
they know all along that, every time someone, like, comes near, I'm just expecting them to come,
they're
like,
not looking at
I don't think I've ever been shushed by a librarian before.
Oh, that'd be really awkward.
But
maybe we could introduce her and ask her what she thinks about these chapters.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Special guest appearance.
Yes, we'll do that, listeners. If a librarian comes in and asks us to be quiet, I'll ask if they want to talk about Lord of the Rings.
Be loud with them.
Who's your favorite hobbit, Pippin or Pippin? They know everything, and it's been their secret mission to go with Frodo and kind of keep an eye on him, because they know him, and they know, because Frodo, all the meanwhile, has been like, this is too dangerous, like, you guys, I shouldn't have dragged you into this, you shouldn't know all this, blah, 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 blah. And they know him well enough to know that that's a bad idea, and he needs them, and vice versa, and everything. And I love this wonderful little quote. Mary says, "You can trust us to stick to you through thick and thin to the bitter end. And you can trust us to keep any secret of yours, closer than you can keep it yourself. But you cannot trust us to let you face trouble alone or go off without a word. We are your friends, Frodo."
Such solid friends.
I know, yeah, like real bros.
Like Mary.
And this is why I'm under the assumption that every single hobbit is a Hufflepuff. Do you have any comments otherwise?
I feel like you could put all of the, like, races. Like, the hobbits are very Hufflepuff. The elves, I think, would be Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
The men are probably, like,
Gryffindor.
I guess the wizards can be Slytherins.
I was going to say, watch what you say about the Slytherins. Just because they're evil doesn't mean that they're Slytherins. And just because you know, you don't like someone doesn't mean they're a Slytherin. And just because someone isn't a Slytherin doesn't mean they're...
With your not all Slytherins soapbox.
Hashtag not all Slytherins. I did note that one of my favorite things that they talk about is how Mary found out about the ring. And it's because he saw Bilbo use it when the Saxville Bagginses were approaching him.
Which is a really great reason to use a weapon of evil.
Yeah, I just love that like, that's how he saw Bilbo with the ring. Is like, the Saxville Bagginses were approaching him, and Bilbo was like, oh, crap. Put the ring on, and then later on Mary was like, where did he go? And then he popped up out of nowhere and had the ring in his hand. Yeah. So I just thought, I mean, it's fun. It's, you know, just fun little quick details like that Tolkien is pretty good at, I'd say. Oh, and then Mary, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, because every single note that I've written down has been like Mary this, Mary that. Maybe I like Mary more.
Mary's awesome too.
Maybe maybe I like Mary more because
Pippin's better, but
yeah. So Mary comments that he once snuck a peek at Bilbo's like diary or journal or something.
Yeah, Mary's just into everything.
But he didn't look at it long enough to get a good glance or anything, and. And then he says, let's see. Oh, Mary asks, I wonder what became of it. I should like another look. Have you got it, Frodo? And he asks for, like, of the things that are a priority right now.
Right.
Mary is like, oh my, do you have his journal? Because I'd love to read it again.
Read the journal.
Yeah, I'd love to read it in depth. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like maybe have a podcast about it.
Right. Take a couple weeks off of this journey again.
Yeah. And so then I wrote down, does Mary never stop? Because it just feels like it's been nonstop antics with him.
He's just on top of things.
He's only been he was in the story for a bit, for like a little bit of chapter 2, and then this is the first time we're really with Mary for a bit. So yeah, maybe I like Mary more.
Personalities. Mary's great. I support you liking Mary.
They're both good, I suppose. I guess it's like Fred and George. Are they like the Fred and George duo?
A little bit. They're kind of the comic relief sometimes, and they're bros.
Yeah.
Not in real life, like Fred and George, but...
Yeah. Oh, you mean, yeah. Which, by the way, I think I literally wrote down that the hobbits are total bros. Like, they're... But they really are good bros. Like, they're there for each other, and that's such a nice, heartfelt quote about friendship and loyalty and everything, so...
And it's between all of them, which I love. It's not like there's that one friend.
Yeah.
Like, he's the rock. He's the one holding it together. It's like, they're all looking out for each other, and...
You can't have, that's where, because then you turn the page and then there's another song.
There it is.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure, not to spoil anything, when you get to Rivendell, I think there's like a whole chapter where they write songs. Or like a part of a chapter.
Oh no.
It's a lot of songs, I'm sorry.
Do you think there's like that one hobbit in each little town that brings a guitar out and sits on the lawn and sings Wonderwall?
Oh, definitely.
Like
the hobbit equivalent of Wonderwall
so
is.
After all, and everyone's like,
sing something else.
This guy.
Play Freebird.
So they make preparations now that they all know. You know, it's a situation of he didn't know that we knew that he knew, or whatever. Yeah. So now they all know, and they make preparations to rest for a bit and then leave real early in the morning.
Real early.
And Fatty Bulger is not going to come with them. Oh, which by the way, I completely forgot Fatty Bulger was here for all this.
Right?
He's
not
like
really participating with the group.
He makes this like one comment. And I was like, oh, you're still there. It was like it was like 2 pages later and he hadn't talked at all. And then he said something. I was like, oh, hey, dude, what's up? And we find out that he's going to stay behind and make it look like Frodo is there. And he's going to wear Frodo's clothes, which, what could go wrong?
Right?
I was like, what could possibly go wrong with that plan, knowing that there are these black riders out looking for Frodo?
Yeah, and
we have a hobbit who's going to dress up like Frodo.
They're even, like, comparing a little bit, like, Fatty Bulger's all freaked out by the forest, and he's like, oh, hell no, I'm not going in there.
Yeah.
Like, that's way too dangerous. I'll stay out here where it's safe. And we as the reader are like, maybe not. Like, there's black riders. He didn't see them, I guess, but...
I'm pretty sure Tolkien even makes a note of like, it's not going to go wrong at all. Or Tolkien makes a note of like, they didn't even consider how dangerous that might be. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming that means that like, oh, actually, I know that at some point the Black Riders invade some town because I was looking at this interactive map during the episode that I did with Amy. Mm-hmm. She was like, I bet if you look up on a map, it'll have points that tell you where they are. And I was like, see, I'm afraid of Google searching stuff because I'm going to spoil stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I did it anyway, and then sure enough spoiled myself, and I clicked on a like dot, and I was like, oh, is this where they met the elves in chapter? Nope, this is where apparently 3 Black Riders invade Crick Hollow. So I'm assuming that's going to happen.
Push it out of your brain, just don't think about
it. I'm assuming that's going to happen at some point, and they're going to like get Fatty Bulger thinking he's Frodo, I don't know. Bye-bye, Fatty Bulger.
To be continued.
Apparently there are many other Fatty Bulgers that will take... Or fatties.
Just fatties.
Yeah, there are many other fatties that will take your place. Yeah, so they make these preparations and then go to bed, and Frodo has this very strange dream about a tall white tower, which... considering I know the next one is called
The
Two Towers. See, I'm always afraid that I'm going to accidentally say the Twin Towers, like 9/11.
That's uncomfortable.
And then I was like, for a second I thought thought it was called the Twin Towers, and I was like, did Tolkien predict 9/11?
Conspiracy!
I was like, that'll be interesting to read about. No. The Two
Very
Towers.
different towers, yes.
The Two Towers. And so, Frodo has this very strange dream. At first he thought it was a great wind coming over the leaves of the forest. Then he knew that it was not leaves, but the sound of the sea far off, a sound he had never heard in waking life, though it had often troubled his dreams. Suddenly he found he was out in the open. There were no trees at all. He was on a dark heath, and there was a strange salt smell in the air. Looking up, he saw before him a tall white tower standing alone on a high ridge. A great desire came over him to climb the tower and see the sea. He started to struggle up the ridge toward the tower, but suddenly a light came in the sky and there was a noise of thunder. Very ominous and spooky.
Could it be foreshadowing of
I know. I literally wrote
dun, dun,
foreshadowing ? Yeah, very subtle. Tolkien. So yes, then we go into the next chapter, which I'm so glad I decided to pair these chapters together because nothing happens. So chapter...
Had a really good dinner of mushrooms, okay?
Yeah, they had a good dinner and they found out that all of his friends are total bros.
Looking out for him.
Yeah.
Spying a little bit as needed.
Yeah. And then we get some foreshadowing at the end and that's it. So... On to chapter 6, the Old Forest, or as I like to call it, the forest from the Wizard of Oz that the trees come alive and throw the apples at Dorothy. Because they talk about this forest like I put forest, vivid imagery personifying unfamiliar territory, or the trees is the forest actually alive? Because that was what I was a little unsure of at the beginning. I was like, okay, is he just like being really, because he says, everything in it is very much more alive, more aware of what is going on, so to speak, than things are in the Shire. And the trees do not like strangers. They watch you. They are usually content merely to watch you as long as daylight lasts and don't do much. I thought all the trees were whispering to each other, passing news and plots along in an unintelligible language, and the branches swayed and groped without any wind. They do say the trees do actually move and can surround strangers and hem them in. So, yeah, I wasn't sure if it was, like, people who just go through the forest and it's their imagination, or it's dark, or if it's, like, actually some evil being. But I'm assuming it's an evil, maybe not an evil being, it's an alive being.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. It's like, I think the trees are definitely supposed to be, like, sentient. Like, they're messing with the hobbits, they're pushing them the direction they want to go and, like, deliberately off their course. But that is a good thought I hadn't thought about before, like, you know, they're going into it afraid already and, like, already really nervous and kind of that sense of, like, you know, everything's getting in my way, everything's pushing me the wrong direction. Yeah. This kind of just general fear. But... Yeah. And I wonder if, like, their fear makes it worse. Like, if they were to go in super calm and collected and be like, nah, it's no big deal. Right. It would just be, if it's, like, more a mental thing than anything else. Well, and there's, Pippin. Like, they're all trudging along trying to make it through, and all of a sudden he just... yells out, like, I can't take it anymore, like, just let us through. Oh, yeah. And they're like, shut up, Pippin! Gosh. So maybe Pippin's not the best. Pippin's the best. So, let's see. So, pretty much, this is where, this chapter is really where I understand where people are coming from when they joke about, like, oh yeah, there's a lot of walking. This chapter is pretty much just an endless loop of, like, they walk, they get a little bit stuck, and then they have to, like, go another way, and then they're like, oh, we've looped back around, and we're not going north anymore, and now we're going south, and we gotta go this way, but the trees are blocking that way. I mean, there's things happening. It's not like... Are there things happening? The trees are, like, dropping acorns on them and tripping them. I mean, in terms of... Let me put it this way. In terms of, like, plot... Nothing happens in this. Yes, nothing. This is like... It is very treacherous for the poor hobbits. Like 15 pages or so where pretty much all they do is just walk through a forest and get a little bit lost, and then they come to a clearing and they eat food for a bit, and then they are like, see, now we're in better spirits. I think we'll make it, and then they get lost again. But I like that they're literally like, oh, you see that shadowy place over there? Let's not go there. Yeah. And then they get on top of the hill and are like, well... Here we are. Yeah, so I love that. Yes, so they're walking and the trees... Is it Mary? Who says it? Mary gave a whistle. Maybe I do like Mary the most because he says, these trees do shift.
There's the bonfire glade in front of us, or I hope so, but the path to it seems to have moved away. Mm-hmm. So yes, the trees do move, and every now and then it'll like make a path, and I think like at one point they follow it, and then another time they're like, no, that goes down into the valley. We don't want to go down that way. Mm-hmm. And then I believe when Tom Beetle the Bard, what's his name? Tom Bumblebee Bombadil. When he
Tom Beetle the Bard.
When he shows up, we learn that he's like come from the direction that the hobbits like avoided, and they're like, no, let's not go that way. Mm-hmm. And they go the opposite way. And again, another Wizard of Oz reference. Before we started recording, I told Bethany, I was like, yeah, I have a lot of weird Wizard of Oz references. So first there was the forest. I was like, so are these like the evil trees that Dorothy picks the apple from, and then they throw the apples at them? Mm-hmm. And then they all of a sudden get really sleepy. And I'm like, is it like the poppies? Poppies will make you sleep. And then they all fall asleep. So, so...
Isn't one of them Frodo or somebody and is like, this isn't normal?
Yeah, it's like, Sam or someone. Yeah, they like stop to rest against a tree or something. Yeah, they stopped to rest against a tree.
Oh, it was Sam. It was my dude Sam.
Sam.
I don't trust it.
Yeah, Sam was like, so they all kind of stop for a bit and take a rest, I guess. And then Sam wakes up and is like, Frodo's not here. Wait a minute, this is a bit suspicious and weird. Something's not right here.
It's not right?
Yeah, so he goes off and finds Frodo, who is like almost drowning in a river.
Yeah, and the tree is like holding a root over him. You're like, oh shoot, like they were just kind of
creepy,
like, passively aggressive up to this point, like kind of messing with them.
Yeah, but like now it's
this is the first time it's like they're actually trying to like harm the hobbits, these trees.
Yeah, they're actually trying to kill Frodo.
I was wondering when I read this too if the trees are perhaps being more aggressive because Frodo has the ring.
Yeah,
they can like sense the evil.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was wondering is, did they like when they stopped to rest, did they like draw Frodo away from everyone else towards the river so that they could drown him and like... Because I guess I don't know if they know that, like, oh, this evil is attached to a ring, or if they could just sense it, and if it was, like, in his pocket, they were like, oh, he's the evil one, let's drown him now.
Right.
So, yeah, Sam comes in. Oh, I did have a comment. I just read, yes, it says the backtracking a lot just because I'm flipping through my book. It says the Withywindle Valley is said to be the queerest part of the whole wood, the center from which all the queerness comes, as it were. So does the Withywindle Valley have like a really lit pride parade? Do they just like go ham every pride?
That is where the LGBT community just emerges from.
Yeah, like it says it's the center of all the queerness in the Shire. So do they just have like a really lit pride every month?
Definitely. Like in the middle of this really treacherous forest.
Yeah, 100%.
Really dedicated.
Yeah, I mean look at like the kind of parties that like not Frodo, what's his name? Bilbo, like, throws for himself, and you know, the Hobbit's, like, whimsy and fun, so, I mean, I don't know, I can see it, especially if Gandalf got, man, I'm just so glad. The only reason we know that, like, Dumbledore is gay is because J.K. Rowling said it after the books came out. I feel like that's going to be a repeated thing. I'm so glad that Tolkien is not here to say, like, well, Frodo was actually a dragon.
That's not the word that I thought was going to come out of your mouth.
He's actually a drag
Surprise!
queen. Oh! That's how we thought that was going to go with.
Whatever people tell you, Sam is not gay. Don't listen to them. They're rotten liars. They are bros.
I'm interested to get more into that because I do know that there is this. Yeah, there's like speculation and talk if like Sam and Frodo are like gay bros together, and I'm only tempted to say, given that I'm 100 pages in and nothing else. Right. But I'm tempted to say no, just because I think we need a lot more like representations in the media of just like strong male friendships, you know, because it's great when there are like new LGBT movies and representation and stuff, but at the same time, we also need these representations of strong, close male friendships because like, men can, you know, are afraid to show affection for their for their male friends because we are in a society that will be like, oh, that's gay. Like, you're secretly gay because you, like, you hugged your best friend or something like that. And it's like, no, we need both of these things. Like, it doesn't have to be an either or thing.
Yeah, and that's something I've heard somebody say about, like, this story and also the movies particularly, is, like, there's characters you haven't met yet, but, like, the pinnacle of manliness. Like, you would never say anything about this guy other than, like, he's a real man.
Yeah.
And, like, all
is it the one does not simply walk into Mordor guy?
Oh, no, him too. That's not what I'm thinking of, though. But you're close. But, like, all throughout the movies, and, I mean, the books too, they, like, call each other, like, my dear Frodo, like, my dear friend. They, like, kiss each other on the forehead. They cry. And you'd never be like, oh, like, what a pansy. It's like, no, these are, like, real emotions coming from these people. And, like, it's okay. Like,
and they're all bros together.
They're all bros together.
I'm looking forward to that, because it's good that Tolkien wrote that, because it's healthy for people, especially because I'm sure, like, a lot of, like, boys have, like, you know, watched the movies or, like, read these books or read The Hobbit or something. I bet a lot of the people who have read it are young boys or, like, maybe, like, dads reading it with their sons. And, like, isn't that how, like, that's, like, how, like, the series basically started, right? The idea of Lord of the Rings, wasn't it, like, Tolkien telling stories to his son, and then was like, well, I guess I'll write them so other people can enjoy them. Yeah, so, like, I'm looking forward to seeing all that, because it's good and healthy to show that, and show that, like, this dude can, you know, like, chop an orc's head off with an axe, and then also go and, like, tell and say, like, my dear Frodo too. Like, you can do both of these things.
Yep. It's not an either or.
Yeah, exactly. So, wow, what a fun
great
tangent. So back to the Wizard of Oz copies.
Back to the killer trees.
So they fall asleep and come back, and they find that a tree has eaten Mary and Pippin.
I love Mary's legs are just kind of sticking out.
Dangling out. Yeah. And at one point I love that they try to set it on fire. Right. And Mary's like, no!
No! Like, what did you think? This sentient tree has our friends.
Yeah, he's like, we're still in here, it's trying to eat us. Right. He's like, please don't do this. And then, our homeboy, our home skiddly biscuit, Tom Benedict.
Tom Bender's
Tom Benedict. Yeah, Tom
Butterscotch.
Benadryl Cucumber Patch comes in and saves the day. I'm just gonna read his whole, like, entrance, because it is very grand. Tolkien describes him so heavily, and at the same time we still don't know what Frodo looks like.
He looks like Elijah Wood. Just
That's all I can picture.
That's it.
I was looking
blue eyes.
Whenever I'm, like, on Twitter and I'm just trying to, like, reply with a GIF or something to and I always try to do it with, like, a Lord of the Rings GIF. I just type in Lord of the Rings. There are so many, like, derpy GIFs of Elijah. And I'm like, was he good in these movies?
Oh, he was so good, but there's a lot of derpiness.
From the GIFs that I've seen, he looks so dumb. And I'm like, am I going to be able to take him seriously?
Oh, absolutely. He's fantastic in those movies. But
okay. Oh, man. Anyway, so Tom Humbledy Bumbedy. There was another burst of song. Oh my gosh, imagine. Sorry, I'm already angry. Man, yeah, so he comes in singing. I'm not going to sing the song or
please say it for me.
Because I'm done.
Gotta get the right meter.
It says, there was another burst of song, and then suddenly, hopping and dancing along the path, there appeared above the reeds an old battered hat with a tall crown and a long blue feather stuck in the band. With another hop and a bound, there came into view a man, or so it seemed. At any rate, he was too large and heavy for a hobbit, if not quite tall enough for one of the big people. Which, side note, I love when they say the big people or the big folk, and then Tolkien also capitalizes that, so I just love that. Anyway,
proper name.
Though he made let me back up. At any rate, he was too large and heavy for a hobbit, if not quite tall enough for one of the big people. Though he made noise enough for one, stomping along with great yellow boots on his thick legs. and charging through grass and yeah, I read that right. I can't read, guys. I have a podcast where I have to read a book and I can't read. God, I think I had 20 tangents within this one thing.
We're gonna get through Tom.
Charging through grass and rushes like a cow going down to drink. He had a blue coat and a long brown beard. His eyes were blue and bright, and his face was red as a ripe apple, but creased into 100 wrinkles of laughter. In his hands he carried on a large leaf, as on a tray, a small pile of white water lilies. So, that is Tom
There he is, my
Bumblebee.
dude. I was so when you asked me to be on your podcast and told me what chapters we were going to be doing, I was like, oh great, I'm just missing the Tom Bombadil chapters because he is weird.
Nah, he's
and
here.
And then I started reading it. It was like, darn you, Tolkien.
Yeah, listeners, I know that he's a big deal in the Lord of the Rings world / lore, I guess.
Not lore.
Yeah, like, because Tolkien wrote, like, a poem or something.
Yeah, apparently there's, like, a book. I don't know if it's, like, of poems or, like, just about Tom Bombadil, but it's, like, The Tales of Tom Bombadil or something like that. But
The Tales of Beetle the Bard, hey?
But there's a lot of lore. I was doing all my research from the one wiki to rule them all, which seems like a reliable source.
Oh my god. That sounds great, but I'm afraid to go on it, because I think...
Yeah, you should stay away.
I'm afraid if I would, like, go click on his page, it would be like, Tom, who is secretly Frodo's father and dies in chapter 7.
Well, now you just ruined it for yourself.
And I'm like...
But, yeah, Tom Bombadil is kind of a fun, weird character, because just nobody knows what is going on with him. Like, there's all kinds of theories. He's, like, obviously super powerful. Yeah. But he's also just this very...
So he comes in and is basically like, yo, tree, open up. Mm-hmm. And it does, and it listens. So clear, I'm just getting this impression that he's just this, like, cantankerous old fool who lives in the forest.
No, he's, like, just jolly and happy all the time. Like, he's fun, goofy character, but I feel like he could just kill you by looking at you kind of thing. Like,
jeez.
He's weird.
So obviously he knows the forest, and he knows this particular tree because he calls it Old Man Willow, and, like, sticks his head in the tree trunk and is like, "Oi, open up!" And then he pulls him out. Yeah, so he clearly commands this forest. So I wonder if he's, like, lived in this forest, or if it, like, started, I don't know.
So, Tom Bombadil has many other names in the Lord of the Rings lore. And the elves, I won't try to say what they call him, but it means oldest and fatherless. So, there's kind of, I think you'll probably get into this more in the next chapter too, but Tom Bombadil is possibly immortal, possibly God.
Oh, lit.
Like, it just goes all over the place. But, yeah, he's a really interesting character because he just doesn't make sense. Like, he is so powerful, but he's just, like, kind of goofy and whatever, let's go home, eat honey, and chill out and sing songs.
Yeah. I did, just before he comes in, though, I wrote down, have you watched Avatar: The Last Airbender?
So, speaking of moms,
Did your mom not let you watch it?
I loved it when I, like, first came out, and then watched the first season, and I got hooked, and then my mom was like, oh, that's Eastern religion, that's evil, you're not allowed to watch that anymore. So I still haven't finished it, and I'm trying to, like, find somebody to watch it with.
Oh, I will 100% watch it with you. Are you kidding? I will 100%
do you have it? Because that's my problem, is finding it.
Look, I can 100% find it illegally online.
Oh, we'll bleep that out.
I'll just put on a bunch of, like, and they'll be like, oh my god, what are they saying? Man, Mary
Clay up a storm in there.
Yeah, all of a sudden got a huge, like, potty mouth in there. Man. No, so I think it's in, like, the second season, there's this episode where they get trapped in this, and by they, I mean Aang, Sokka, and Katara. It's the gang.
The OG.
The OG. And they accidentally, like, get trapped in this, like, swamp forest. And it's alive. And you come to find out that, like, all of the life stems from the single tree in the middle of the forest. And anyway, and so they somehow get separated, and the forest, like, somehow knows them and comes up with these mirages that are geared specifically toward them. And one of them is like Katara sees her mom, who is dead. Spoiler.
You're just killing me here. We don't need to watch the show anymore.
And then Sokka sees this girl who they had like met for the first time in the first season, and he misses him, and she eventually becomes his girlfriend. But another spoiler.
Oh my gosh.
No, they're not big things. He thinks he sees her, and then Aang has this vision of someone who he hasn't met before. And we come to find out that it's actually this girl who is the earthbender that they're supposed to meet so he can learn earthbending. I don't know. And so it's like a very eerie episode where they're all separated. They're in this forest. There's no way to get out. They can't fly out or anything. And then they all get separated. And then all these mirages come out. And then in come these, they're the swamp benders. Ew. They're a different part of the water tribe, but they live in the swamp. And so they're basically I guess how you would imagine if the water tribe lived in Louisiana. And so,
no shade to Louisiana.
Yeah, and so they come in and kind of, I guess, clear things up for them and are no, this is the swamp and it's alive and here's this tree and everything. But I don't know. I was just does this forest know them subconsciously?
No Frodo and Sam, or no?
I mean, I guess we kind of talked about how it seems to sense possibly that the ring is evil and it's with them or something. And then it, and it yells at him or yells at the trees or whatever. But
I think it's aware of people too, because it talks back at the very beginning about the Bucklanders built that hedge to protect their property.
Yeah.
And then what was it they chopped down some of the trees. And the trees got really pissed off.
This is another episode of Avatar. This is in the first season.
Okay.
The firebenders come and they burn down a forest, and then the spirit of the forest comes to the village nearby every night and kidnaps someone and takes them into the spirit. And then Aang goes into the spirit world and finds out that it's because the spirit of the forest is sad and angry that the firebenders burned down the forest. So basically, everything can be connected to Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Or Harry Potter.
Or Harry Potter.
Both.
I mean, makes sense. Amy schooled me on... Oh, by the way, listeners, for those of you that don't know, Bethany and I went to college. Bethany was also a English major at CNU.
If you can't tell by the fact that I read Lord of the Rings in middle school.
So I'm just going to try and, I guess, go through the entire English department, of CNU.
I was going to recommend some other English department people.
Yeah, so, so if y'all are wow, she seems to have a lot of CNU grads who are all English majors, because they know what they're talking about.
Because we're great.
They know what
if you're looking for a college.
They know what they're talking about.
They know what we're talking about.
But,
they said the name of the show.
Yeah, and then my last note of the chapter is, I see why Tom Bombadil has this legacy in Lord of the Rings, because he has quite a dramatic entrance and is basically come along, little folk, I'll talk to you. I don't know. I forget if he says, come with me to my... Oh, yeah, so this is when we find out that he's oh, yeah, my house is just down that valley.
Right.
The forest tried to lead you in that direction, but you didn't listen to it, you idiots.
I didn't think about that. Oh, true.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it makes a point to say, oh, yeah, a path opened up, and they're let's go the other way. And then I'm pretty sure he says, oh, I'm located down this way, and they're all oh, what an odd coincidence, because that's what we were avoiding.
And he also just invites them in the middle of this very dangerous, creepy forest.
Yeah.
He stumbles upon these four, random beings. You'll find that, too, in this book. Other people don't know about hobbits, and they'll just be very confused by them.
People don't know about hobbits?
Not really. Not a whole lot. They'll make a point a lot of thinking, they're, children, or just being very confused, what's going on over here?
Yeah,
who Tom Bombadil's just yep, dinner's on.
Yeah, who are these small humans that also act like 5-year-olds?
Right.
And one of them...
One in particular.
And one of them has an evil ring.
Right.
What is this
What's
about?
going on here?
I mean, that's kind of all that happens in this chapter, is we're left with this cliffhanger that they have gone off with Tom Bombadil, and I'm assuming we'll learn more about him, because the next chapter is in the house of Tom Bombadil.
But you will not learn enough to answer all your questions.
Awesome. I'm assuming it's just going to be like that for the rest of this series. I'm just gonna constantly have more questions and be like, Gandalf, come back! You've told us nothing!
I mean, but it wraps up really well. It's actually really funny because one of my English major friends that I was going to recommend to you texted our, like, English nerd group this morning, and it was like, guys, I just finished reading Return of the King. I have so many feels. You guys need to do it. And I was like, funny you should say that. Because there's a podcast.
Where a dum-dum reads Lord of the Rings. I don't know if you've listened to the first couple episodes, but I didn't know there was more than one ring, despite the fact that the series is called Lord of the Rings.
Plural.
So, I mean, just from the movies, and I've only seen the first movie, and
you have seen the first movie?
Yeah, I've only seen the first movie, and that was it.
Wait, so you know what's gonna happen, like the big things in here?
No, I really don't. Because I remember nothing about it.
Oh, okay. That's good.
All I remember is being angry that, like, it got to the end of the movie and they were nowhere near Mount Doom. I was like, you've done nothing.
Wait, no, I remember talking about this on Twitter with you, and I got
I was
really
gonna
upset.
say, I was live tweeting it because I had to watch it. Yeah, I had to watch it
No, this wasn't in college. This was like, you tweeted something about Lord of the Rings, and we're like, the movie sucks. I was like, take that back.
Oh, yeah, that was, like, as I was just beginning this idea of, like, should I start this podcast? I mean, let's bear in mind that I know nothing about Lord of the Rings, and this also could be a problem because I watched the first movie and I didn't like it enough to, like, watch the other ones.
Yeah.
So I was like, this could be problematic, where, like, I start this podcast series and then I end up hating the books.
I mean, that would probably be a little entertaining, too, if you're just sitting here, like, ragging on it for the whole time, but...
I mean, I feel like I've done a decent amount of that, just between the excessive use of the word queer... And then also...
It was 1954.
How Gandalf does nothing. I mean, I'm sure he does other things,
Gandalf will
but
be back.
At this point, as I tweeted the other day, he's as helpful as Apple Maps directions to New Zealand. No directions available is what it said. By the way, side note, New Zealand is not where I thought it was.
Where did you think New Zealand was?
I think because of, like, what I was picturing in my head, how it's very, like... Obviously, it's otherworldly, because that's where they filmed all of these movies and stuff. And I think I was grouping...
wasn't real?
Huh?
Did you think New Zealand wasn't real?
No. I was, like, grouping it in my head with where Iceland is. Because Iceland is all... In my head, Iceland is also has these, like, insane, like, scenery and all this stuff. And you're like, there's no way that's real. And so in my head, I was like, yeah, it's just up there with it. And Google search. And I was like, I wonder what a flight to New Zealand would be like. Because that would be fun. And then I looked at it and I'm like, the cheapest flight is, like... $2,000. The shortest flight is like 35 hours.
It's a real long
I was like,
trip.
It's next to Australia?
Yep. Other
When
side
did
of the world.
this happen?
When did they move New Zealand?
and then I kind of remember that, like, oh yeah, like New Zealand and Australia have like a history. I don't remember who conquered whom, but
the British were probably in there somewhere.
Yeah,
they were definitely in Australia.
Darn them Brits.
Darn them Brits. Also, I'm gonna send you, and you can also tweet if you so choose, airplane safety video for New Zealand is Lord of the Rings themed, and it's fantastic. Like, they've just embraced it.
That's like, I mean, at this point, it's gotta be like,
that's like the
90% of their tourism. Maybe not 90%, because it does.
Maybe not that high.
If you like look up, it's stunning. And
yeah.
I'm like, this.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
I'm like, we should just like build a fence around this so like we can't ruin it.
Like, you can look from afar.
Like, guys, we have this one nice thing. Let's not ruin it. Well, that was a fun chapter.
That was great.
Thank you for coming, even though you had a sinus infection.
It's fine.
Bethany was a trooper, and I was also hoping, I was like, can we record at your place? Because she has an awesome dog.
You guys wouldn't have heard any of the podcasts, though. It would have just been him yapping.
I mean, that's it. I mean, I'm willing to take that risk. So I don't think the listeners would
Be
care.
like, maybe if we just like add a picture of him,
upload that as the cover. Upload that as the cover art.
Like, oh look, this
very
cute puppy.
cute. He's very cute.
He's a dachshund.
Bethany, would you, where can people find you on the internet if you want people to find you on the internet?
Yes, follow me on Twitter at Bethany_Pyle.
She tweets once a day.
I've been called out. I'm trying, but listen, I had a really good tweet yesterday about I was like cooking dinner and I play like fancy like French music and I was literally cooking boxed macaroni and cheese and no one liked it. So
I didn't see it.
Go affirm me, like my tweets. They're funny, I think. I'm also on Instagram and I post pictures of my dog and my food.
Yes,
like all basic white girls.
Yes.
You can see my dog.
He's great. I've never met him, but I'm assuming he's great.
He is great. He's just a lot.
I get that.
But
My dog is also a lot.
Yes, in a good way.
Yeah. So,
but my Instagram is Pyle of Gold.
Pyle, by the way. You can find me on Instagram at MC_TurnDownForWhat. You can find me on Twitter at MCWatt416. But now, recently, I just kind of want to change my Twitter handle to just call me MC. Because the amount of people
It's so passive-aggressive.
Have you seen what my Twitter name is currently?
Yes.
My name is Mary Clay, not Mary. So yeah, I'm like giving up now, and I'm like, just call me MC. Just do it. Just do it. I wonder if I would have been cooler if I had just gone by MC growing up.
Yeah.
If I would have been like the
your
cool.
Personality.
Yeah, exactly. If I would have been the cool kid,
right?
As opposed to
what you've become now.
Yeah. Sitting in a public library and the
public libraries are great. Support your public library.
No, I love a public library. Isn't this library
This is the nicest library ever.
Yeah, it was just redone. What was I saying? Yes, you can find me on Instagram at MC_TurnDownForWhat and Twitter at MCWatt416. You can find the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at TolkienAboutPod. That's What I'm Talking About is a production of Bacon and Eggs. You can learn more about that by going to baconandeggs.media, she says, unsure of herself. Sorry, Tyler. Just go to baconandeggs.media and see what happens. The cover art is by Vaishon Brandon. You can support him on Instagram, which I recommend doing at graphite.vmb. Next week, I will be doing 2 chapters in 1 episode again. So if you're reading along, you can read chapters 7 and 8. That's what I'm talking about.